Welcome Aquarius to your in-depth monthly horoscope for September 2024 for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. I'm going to share some standout details with you to begin with, to look out for, but then on screen I'll share your event chart, always hugely important at the start of each month because it provides so much information to guide us. Then as the days unfold, I'll give you the exact influences and timings pertinent to your sign. Now, as we come into this month, Pluto, the mighty Pluto, which has been with you since the 21st of January, is going to inverse out of your sign. But just before it does, it forges an incredibly powerful link to Venus, the planet of love, but also money. I need to share the significance of that with you. Now, as you come into this month, your two ruling planets, as ever, are truly influential, but they're both in conflict, so I need to unpack that. But by the 3rd, we have a new moon. A new moon which is very much to do with shared resources, long-term financial planning, can be to do with investments, pensions, savings, property matters, or shared resources. A new moon is when the sun and the moon combine in unison, and that can be an opportunity to set your intentions around those areas. But on the 4th, Mars makes its way into the sign of Cancer. Cancer is an emotional sign, it's ruled by the moon. Mars, of course, can be more abrasive. What will this mean? Over the following 8 weeks, there's a huge opportunity for you to get fitter, and I'm going to share with you exactly how. The 9th, however, sees Mercury return back to the sign of Virgo, which it rules. If you recall, it's already been here this year, but that's when the retrograde began. Mercury returning to this location suggests if you have been waiting for some news to do with a financial payout, some kind of legacy, perhaps an insurance claim, you will get that information by the 11th when Mercury ends its 9.5 week Mercury retrograde period, which although it's only in retrograde for 21 days, the pre-retrograde shadow and the post-retrograde shadow still are very important. However, the 18th does see a very powerful lunar eclipse, the first in a new series, and this is in the sign of Pisces, which is about for you your resources, your self-worth and your values. But it's aligned with Neptune, which is a very aquatic, shimmering energy in Pisces, but also your modern ruler, Uranus, provides an electric charge to this event in a very positive way. So this provides a backdrop of energy for the next 6 months. I'll take you through this. The 22nd, however, sees the sun return to your sister air sign of Libra after an 11-month absence. Libra, of course, is about balance, fairness. It's about communication, like you, it's an air sign, but also ushers in cardinal quadrant 3. Western tropical astrology is divided into 4 13-week sections. This 13-week section for you is about in some ways making sure that you feel free, whatever your physical circumstances. And sometimes we can deal with very difficult situations if we feel we're living our life to our higher truth. And that's really what you're being asked to do. But also this can be a time when you become much more excited about the opportunity to travel and be more spontaneous. Venus, the planet of relating, but money, moves into a very prominent part of your chart on the 23rd. Is there going to be a relationship that's set to develop where maybe it's a bit more of an orthodox relationship and maybe you have to fall back on more the Saturnian side of your nature, but this could be good for you. So some kind of contractual opportunity can really sparkle as this month draws to a close, or you could find yourself learning a new language, an instrument, or perhaps traveling further afield. But one way or another, even if you're still at home, your world can expand hugely as September comes to a close. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you're new to my channel, it's lovely to have your company. If you have any thoughts, please feel welcome to share them. This is very much a community. People chip in. Also, if you're a returning visitor, all your views and interactions, as ever, are truly appreciated. Please help my channel to thrive by subbing if you've yet to do so and clicking the bell notification symbol. I'm a consultant astrologer. If you'd like to have a one-to-one with me, please check out the testimonials below. I don't change these as they come in, I share as is. See how other people have found working closely with me. Finally, my year 2025 personal horoscope forecast promotion is now running. You can order your transits for next year, but also get the rest of this year free. In my special package, get your Life Roadmap Report plus 30% off. The Life Roadmap Report, all of this is based on your unique birth data, will give you a lot of information to understand the patterns that have played out in your life so far and how you can work with these future forwards. Your transit shows how the planets in the sky are interacting with your nativity. So it's a lot of information, it's great value, and as I say, totally unique to you. Please see the link below for more. So Aquarius, on the screen now, we have your event chart at the start of the month. Let's look at Saturn. Saturn has a little bit of a dark reputation, but do you know when Saturn moves over a house cusp in a natal horoscope, very often that signifies a reward if someone has really applied themselves. So whether it's working hard in terms of their physical fitness or health, a job, a talent, a relationship, something good can break. So please don't feel that Saturn is all dark and difficult. But at the start of this month, it is true that Saturn is squaring off the planet of growth. They came into an exact square on the 19th of August, but they're still within touch of one another, within 3 degrees. So as you come into this new month, it's probably not the best of times to be too and free and easy with resources. If there is an idea, for example, that calls out to you, or someone's trying to enthuse you with the latest side hustle or get rich quick scheme, approach it with caution. But it doesn't mean to say you shouldn't approach it. But the 5th house, where Jupiter is also about being exuberant, joyful, playful, and romantic. So there could be someone you're drawn to at the start of this month, but whether it's a feasible opportunity or not may be an issue, because Neptune, like Saturn, is in your 2nd house, and maybe your values don't quite align with a person you really fancy, because Neptune's squaring up to Mars as we go into this new month. That can create a great sense of unreality, and Neptune in the 2nd house can also tempt us towards things that aren't necessarily good for us, whether it's a bit too much sugar, those gooey calorific goodies that I find so hard to resist, or it is maybe someone who's very coquettish and sultry, 2nd house, very sensual. Is there someone that we're just drawn towards because their sexual chemistry is so strong? Mars in the 5th house. So your 2nd house of keeping it real and sticking with what makes you who you are in terms of your self-worth and values is conflicted by a more risk-taking side of your nature. Now, how will you pick your way through this? Because Uranus, your modern ruler, is also in a clash at the start of this month with Mercury, the planet of communication, which is in your sector of relating. So if you can see on the chart wheel, you have the part of fortune, the moon and Mercury all in your 7th house. So how you relate to people, that could be a big part of what you're searching for as you come into this month. But Mercury square with Uranus is quite erratic. Maybe there's someone that you really like and the physical constraints might not be practical. Maybe they live a little bit too far away from you. Maybe your personal situation means that in terms of childcare or perhaps your work, it isn't quite as free for you to be available to link with that person. But there could therefore, with these 3 difficult influences, these 3 squares, there could be the tendency at the start of this month to feel that things aren't going in your direction. But I want to reassure you, because Venus is in the part of your chart, Venus is about money, but it's also about relationships. That's to do with your higher truth. It's also in your sister air sign of Libra, and Venus is domiciled here, so it's a brilliant place for Venus to be. So it links back to Pluto. So Pluto is about transformations. The link with Venus can amplify your understanding at a spiritual level of who can be good for you or not. The key is whether you will listen to that or be drawn towards these earthly temptations. And then Pluto inverses back into Capricorn. If you did have a difficult time of it since 2008 in terms of a lot of very deep transformations, maybe you've become unattached to people who in the past were a massive part of your situation, it really wouldn't be a surprise. And of course, Uranus being in the 4th house in Taurus, where it's not at its best, that was seeded in May 2018 with a square that was just outside of Aquarius, and then Mars moved into Aquarius, and Mars and Uranus were having a right dust up in the spring and summer of 2018. And since then, your emotional life may have been somewhat unstable or at least changeable. So what happens with Pluto returning into Capricorn? It's an opportunity, a window, a celestial window of opportunity through to the 19th of November to explore if there is any outstanding emotional, psychological or subconscious issues that do need to be resolved. Now, there are so many apps out there these days which help us to understand our behaviour, whether it is to do with perhaps being OCD, or perhaps to do with attention deficit, or if you had a difficult childhood, is that completely resolved? Or, of course, there's an opportunity to go online and watch lots of self-help videos, or download self-help manuals, or even talk to someone directly. So if you still feel there's something that's outstanding from your past that you want to explore, see that you can through to the 19th of November, and see that as being a magnificent thing you can do in terms of your personal development. But on the 3rd, interestingly, that new moon can call out to the more psychological part of your nature, because the 8th house is where we can be most devoted and most invested, most attached, but it's also the part of the circuit through the sky where the sun can unattach us from something that perhaps has come to its end. So very much a Plutonian vibe to that new moon. But if you are someone who wants to raise some money for a business idea that you've got, perhaps sort out some insurance planning or life policy planning for your future, a great time to do so on the back of that particular new moon. But Mars moving on the 4th, I told you before, this could be great for your physical vitality. And it's going to be in your 6th house through to the 4th of November. And to be honest, this is really rare, because usually Mars takes 6 weeks to go through each sign. It's going to be going into the sign of Leo, and then in December it goes into a retrograde, and that's why we've got this extended period of time in Cancer. But Mars doesn't like being in Cancer. It's in its 4. Mars is very robust, and the sign of Cancer is more touchy-feely, it's emotional, but it can also be a bit defensive with Mars there. So how will this play out for you? Well, in the 6th house, that can be very much to do with our physical vitality, but also it can be to do with where we can be virtuous. So if you do want to change a number of small but important details, Mars will give you the thrust, determination and sticking power to really change something very positively. So if you are wanting to really examine what you're eating, drinking, very carefully, if you're thinking about a job that's not working for you and you're determined to change it, your drive and passion can be enormous over the next 2 months. But it is true that in week 2, the Sun in Virgo does go face to face with your ruler, your traditional ruler Saturn in Pisces. If there is an equation in your situation where you're finding it hard to get what you feel you're worth, or you may feel that someone you're connected to is cold, detached, even all the way to be mean, it could really show up at this time. I feel that once Mercury returns to Virgo on the 9th, it does give you a chance to cut through and really understand what this might be about. And one of the things I would say is that even if things feel tense in that week too, do try to keep the lines of communication open. And then you may find you get what you want. It becomes clear by the 11th when Mercury leaves the end of its 9.5 week journey through its whole retrograde season. The retrograde takes 21 days, of course, but it's the pre and post retrograde shadows that fill out the whole 9.5 week period. So something that you started to really set your sights on all the way back then can really come to a point of culmination, which is exciting. But the lunar eclipse, which occurs on the 18th, is complex because the shimmering link between the moon and Neptune in your second house can arouse within you the most compassionate part of your nature. Have you found since 2012, Aquarius, that you've become much more conscious of those who have less? Because if you have, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. But maybe what Saturn's been doing over the last 17 months is making you a little bit more aware of perhaps where you've given slightly too much. Not because it wasn't a good thing to do, but we can't pour from an empty jug. So whether it's emotional support or whether it's financial support to a good cause, you could be tempted towards those good acts more over the next 6 months. But you need to keep things in balance between the ins and outs of your overall situation. But then on the 22nd, we have a victorious moment for you, I feel, because we have the autumnal equinox, and the sun returns to your sister air sign of Libra, which, like you, is very much about communication. But it forges a brilliant link with Pluto just as it arrives. Something's moving for you. Greater knowledge and information are coming your way. You're expanding your thinking hugely. Believe me, you really are. And then that notable person can take quite a shine to you on the 23rd. Your ability to cultivate good contacts is definitely blessed in the weeks following that. But generally speaking, as the month comes to a close, I think there's going to be a lot of excitement. You may want to do something completely off the cuff. Now you have a bit of a inattention going on in your sign. It is a duality. There's part of you, particularly if you're early born Aquarius, that likes to stick and likes a degree of traditionality. You're a fixed sign, so continuity around relationships, interests, even jobs can see you holding on to something. Whereas your more progressive modern ruler Uranus is prompting and pushing you all the time to dare to be different, to dazzle people. But that can't always be an easy balance. So as you come to the end of this month, I think the part of your nature that you want to demonstrate, whatever suits you in the most comfortable way, you can do it, and you can dazzle people with your ideas, because at the end of the day, that's when you're at your best, when you're chatting to people you find inspirational. If you can head off somewhere, whether it's for some sunshine or whether it's for some skiing if you're down south, it'd be a great opportunity to break out and have a sense of freedom. But if that's not possible because of your physical circumstances, you can really surprise yourself by how much you can learn as this month comes to a close, but also over the next couple of months as you really surf the energy of that awesome autumnal equinox. Have a great September, Aquarius. Take care and goodbye.